Manny Jasmy there. Now, if a team goes a few years without success, often it's the players or the coach who get the blame. But when a barren run stretches into multiple decades, trying to explain why takes on new dimensions. In the 1970s, Australia's Socceroos were supposedly cursed by a shaman they failed to pay, with a string of misfortunes costing them multiple appearances at the Men's World Cup. The curse of the Billy Goat apparently kept the Chicago Cubs from winning baseball's World Series for 71 years. And on Sunday, the so-called Mayo Curse, lasting 75 years, came to an end. Mayo winning Gaelic football's All-Ireland Senior Football Championship. Over 75 years, they'd lost no fewer than 11 finals. I've been speaking to Mayo fan Sean McAndrew, who's the son of John McAndrew, who won 2 All-Ireland football titles with Mayo in the 1950s. He started by explaining the story behind the curse.
They initially won an All-Ireland in 1936, and in 1948 there was a controversial game where they lost out as well, and my father's brother Pat played in that game. After then he went to New York, but my father started playing in 1948 and got spotted, and it was the 1950 championship season that they progressed to the final, and they won that, and then returning the following year, 1951, they won there, and apparently on the way back, they're travelling back on a flatbed lorry back through the country, and they got to Foxford in County Mayo, and apparently there was a funeral on that day, and the legend was that they didn't stop or didn't show enough reverence or whatever to the actual funeral party, and apparently the priest there put a curse on it. Any of the remaining players, whilst they were still alive, they would never win another senior All-Ireland football final.
In your life, how have you experienced it? When you first heard about the curse to literally yesterday, how much did it play on how you thought about these matches?
There's been about 11 finals where Mayo have got to the final and not won since then. And in the early years, we'd go over to matches and nothing was mentioned about a curse. But I think by the nature of the losses on the day, there was no lack of effort from any of the players in Mayo across all the years. But there'd be either bad luck or I think 2 own goals in a game, which just doesn't happen really in Gaelic football. And just bad decisions at the final whistle, just before the final whistle. I think it started putting a seed in people's head, and somehow the legend of this curse came out. Where it sort of manifested to was, again, after my dad couldn't travel back for one of the finals, I went over with my young son, and we'd lost, I think, to Dublin, and we were walking back from the game. We got outside Trinity College in Dublin. We were waiting to cross the road, and a lady in about her 60s sort of looked down. My son had his green and red scarf on. She sort of nodded her head and went, "Oh, maybe next year." And then we were waiting a little bit longer, waiting for the lights to change. And then she whispered to me, sort of, we might have to get rid of a few before then. And I think at that time there was probably 3 left, including my father. And I sort of half jokingly but whole earnest sort of went, "What do you mean, his grandfather?" And she was taken aback. I think she was shocked. And then she was sort of saying, "Well, what's his name?" And I said, "John McAndrew." And then she was a bit shocked. I think she might have upset me, and I didn't take it that way. I was just almost having a bit of fun, but it sort of set a seed that you think, well, maybe people are superstitious, and obviously Ireland's a very sort of religious country, but maybe they did put some credence to this curse.
And look, the celebrations were tremendous to watch. It's been absolutely fascinating to just digest it all and the joy that we saw from all the County Mayo fans. But it's not just in County Mayo where people will have celebrated this win, is it?
No, exactly. I mean, along with the counties like Donegal, emigration's probably hit Mayo as much as any other county, in Ireland. And so you've got people from Mayo in every corner of the earth, and they see the Gaelic football as a connection to their home, even if they can't travel. And I don't know the figures, but I'd reckon in Dublin there's probably more people with some sort of connection to Mayo than there actually living in Mayo at the moment.
Sean McAndrew as the Mayo Curse is laid to rest.